mistake. I almost flipped the two. The mission of this conference is simple: to bring people together across the entire startup community, every industry, department, and funding stage. Startup Boston exists to connect, educate, and celebrate this ecosystem while serving as a trusted, unbiased guide to the best resources that can help you start and scale your startup. My name is Linda Brown, and I'll be your host today. I have been through 3 successful exits and 4 mergers and acquisitions that may or may not have been pleasant, but we won't go into that today. Before we kick things off, I want to give a huge thank you to Suffolk University. Having one space where we can all come together for a week and do this stuff is really amazing, and part of the reason why this is such a special event. I think that's it. I'm going to turn it over to Sean, who is going to be our moderator for this session. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. All right, everyone. I hope you're ready for an exciting time. I hope I'm not too loud because I feel like I'm super loud at this point in time. So welcome to From Fit to First Customers. Effectively, having early product market fit and starting to realize early success from a revenue perspective with customers is a critical and important activity. In this session, we're going to talk about just that path, right? What does it look like to go from PMF? What does it feel like? What could it look like? And again, sometimes, and the panelists have shared with me during our prep, it depends oftentimes, which, sometimes it's tough hearing that. We'll try to avoid being vague about some of the responses and make sure that you have some, thought. There are some numbers and ideals that are kind of bound to information that's referenceable that we can give to you. We're going to leave an adequate amount of time for questions. We think that it's super important to have a conversation. Whether or not we have the answer or someone else, the answer will be undoubtedly in the room with a bunch of kind of talented folks from Boston. You always have the answer in the room. I'm Sean Harris. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Coworked. We are a venture-backed seed stage startup that actually is built an agentic project manager. It's we joke about calling it a headless project manager, not to be offensive, but because it's not like a new UI or dashboard. It's in your environment. It's ambient in nature. So it uses the tech your team already uses. We serve Fortune 500 enterprises, both scary and exciting to do so with a team of 11 people. So that's the Techstars 24 grad, so fall 24 Techstars, and some of the folks who are my mentors are up on stage, and we're going to start with Steve Walsh from an intro perspective.
Awesome. Sean, good to see you, my friend. So I'm Steve Walsh. I run a company called Hands On Angel, which is an early stage ecosystem that supports pre-seed and seed stage startups. I help them raise capital. I've invested in them. I've invested in 67 companies in the last 8 years. Helped them raise over $1.2 billion in capital, had 9 exits. So I don't claim to know anything about anything. I just know a little something about something. And I'm proud to say I'm also a Techstars mentor in residence, along with my friend here. Sean was in our cohort last year, and we kicked off the new fall cohort for Boston this week, this morning, with 7 companies that are going to have an amazing 12 weeks. So I'm really excited to be here and share today. Thanks, Sean.
All right, Anuj.
Hi, I'm Anuj, also mentor in residence at Techstars Boston. What? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Also help startups. I consult with startups outside of Techstars. Also an author, wrote the official Dummies book for growth hacking. And as with everybody else who claims to do what I do, is trying to understand how we can stay relevant in the age of AI, or are we just screwed?
Awesome, Jordan.
Hello. I am not a Techstars mentor. I have not been through Techstars. I apologize. I am currently the co-founder and CTO of a consumer voice messaging mobile app called HollerHype. I would not say that we have product market fit yet, but we do have customers and we do have revenue.
Okay.
Little
okay,
confusing.
okay,
The fit
okay.
doesn't always come first,
There you
my
go.
friend.
That's right.
So this is the second startup I've co-founded. I've also been the first head of product, single-digit employee at 2 other VC-backed startups, and one of those never got to product market fit, but did get successfully acquired. Another spicy take
Okay.
for you. The other one absolutely had product market fit and went bankrupt. So, also went through Techstars. Oh,
It's
anyway,
Anusha's fault, not mine.
I'm
Everything
I
is
also-
my fault.
I also launched and ran an incubator program that helped early stage founders with customer discovery, getting from customer discovery to like proof of concept data. And I've mentored scores of folks, like these folks, just not through Techstars.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep.
Well, I didn't know we were going to get into it, so let me start over again. My dad was born in Barbados, and I'm just kidding.
He instructed us to literally say 5 words. I blame Steve.
So we're gonna follow like an idea that's like supportive of adult learning here, right? I'm gonna do what, so what, now what, right? So we're gonna talk about like what is product market fit, why is it important, like in terms of getting to revenue, and then what are you gonna do tomorrow, right? What can you do tomorrow? What can you do tonight if you're a startup, if you're a founder, you're doing it tonight to help in starting to move the needle. So I'll start from this side with Jordan. What is product market fit for you? Please, concrete terms, no vibes.
No vibes. This is the age of vibes.
I know it is the age of vibes.
So I was thinking about this. So I biked here from my house. It took me 40 minutes. And the whole time I was like, what is product market fit?
Yeah.
What is it? What is it? I think it comes down to retention. But it really depends on your industry. It depends on, are you B2C, are you B2B, like what that breaks down to. What is the metric that matters? When does it matter? The reason that Sean is like no vibes is because what people always say is like, it's when you feel that pull, right? When
Yeah.
you stop feeling like you're pushing a boulder up a hill and suddenly it's like chasing you down the hill, the market is pulling the product out of you. And I can absolutely attest to that, and it's a really difficult thing. So for the company that I experienced product market fit at, I would say it had less to do with retention and way more to do with having more demand, especially from renewals, than we could meet. And so suddenly we were in a position where we were like deciding which customers to serve. We're like, you're not good enough. You don't get this product, which is like a very weird feeling to have when you have been pushing that boulder. So that is not a metric, I'm sorry, but hopefully it's a little bit specific.
But you can build an equation from that, right? So demand is greater than capacity.
Exactly. And it has everything, we'll get to questions later, but it has everything to do with your runway and like, is outbound paying, is retention paying for outbound? It's like, there's a million little ways that you can measure this, but also it's vibes.
It's all good. It's all good. Anush.
Yeah, so I'll do a semi-vibes answer because it is true, and I've experienced this, which is when your absence costs more than your presence. Right, and I discovered this when in my first growth role, when I was the head of community for a growth community called Growth Hackers, and I realized we had it when one day our site went down for 5 minutes. And I can't tell you how many tweets I saw said your site is down, right? I'm like, why do these people care about this community so much, right? It's because they were clearly getting something from this community they could not get anywhere else, right? And our absence really hurt them, even for those 5 minutes, right? So I think to me that's a great sign when people start complaining, right? And in fact, I saw this a second time. With another community, with this little site you might have heard called Twitter, right? And now for the longest time, I don't know about you, but I saw people carping and moaning about the lack of an edit button. I'm gonna leave this freaking site if they don't have an edit button. Nobody has left Twitter, right? Because the edit button didn't exist. So people love complaining. Don't ever leave. It's product market fit.
So another equation here. Your absence is costs more than your presence. Amazing. Steve.
So for me, it's not how I feel, it's how your customers feel. So anyone here a Superhuman user, the email platform? Okay, so it just got sold maybe a month or two ago for $1 billion. No one knows how much cash, but it was a $1 billion acquisition. And Raul, the CEO, talks about what product market fit feels like, not for you, not vibes for you, but for your customers. And he said it's pretty simple. Take a survey of your top 10 customers, top 100 customers, and ask them one question. If this product went away tomorrow, would your life not be as good and would you miss it? And if the answer is yes, and more than 40 or 50% of them say that, then you're probably onto product market fit, or at least the beginnings of it. So I do think it's quantifiable.
Yeah.
It's, you want to know if you've got something, and founders are always hesitant to do this. Just ask the damn customers. Ask them, do they like your product? Do they love your product? Don't use the word like, use the term love. And if the answer is yes, then I think you're definitely onto the starter product market fit.
Okay. Okay. I've more recently had the ability to take my statements of work for customers, our order sheets, and just find and replace the name of the customers, and because I'm offering the same thing, the same features, the same capabilities. Everything is this. They want the same exact thing, and in my mind, in my illusioned brain, I said, "Oh, maybe we've arrived," because I didn't have to tweak it. I didn't have to do any nuanced things in order to meet the customer where they are. Anuj, you had 3 things, if I remember, that you had cited around PFM. Could you maybe speak to those a little bit?
Yeah, so this is the non-vibes answer, right? Because after spending a lot of time with these startups, I think I've come up with 3 sort of metrics that you can look at, right? And the first one, as Jordan alluded to, was retention, right? But it's not just retention; it is stable retention over time.
Inexpensive retention.
For sure, right? Because what tends to happen is, especially when you're an early founder, you will take anybody who shows even the remotest interest, right? And that is absolutely the wrong thing to do, right? You want somebody who cannot live without your product, not just somebody who thinks, oh, that's nice, you should go do it, right? And I don't know, are we allowed to use French on stage?
Feel free.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody's
right.
adult
It's
learning.
being recorded, but there's a technical term for this. And the technical term is called grin fucking. Right. It's literally what happens to founders. Everybody smiles. Says, that's awesome, you should go do it. Right? That's a great idea.
True.
I promise you're going to die when you talk to those people and try to cater to those people. Right? You want the person who, when you go and tell them about it, they're like, can I have it yesterday? And when you don't give it to them tomorrow, they harass you and say, where is it? And when you don't give it to them the day after, they're like, come on. Right? Like literally you get your own personal stalker. Right? That's kind of when you know you've got the right person. Right? And so
When your customers are driving the sales process, like they're in your inbox, like, hey, is there any way we can meet earlier? And you're like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
totally. And I think that's exactly one of the signals, right? Is if you're selling them, you're talking to the wrong person. They should be selling you, right? On why you should be allowing them to use your own product. Like it's really weird.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I mean by stable. That's how stable retention happens over time. Is you get more of these people who are so desperate and they keep coming through your door, and they show their desperation by constantly coming back and using your product, right? And when they keep doing that again and again, right? So anybody will come and use a product once because they were like, okay. They might do it a second time, like, did I just see what I saw? Right? The third time, it's like, okay, there might be something. Nobody uses a product 4 times. Like, that's not an accident, right? That wasn't oops, that wasn't, I was kicking the tires. I really like this thing, right? So I'll try to look for stable retention that over 4 time periods, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, whatever the usage frequency is of your product, right? So that's one. The second is what Steve mentioned, right? That 40% very disappointed question, right? Because you want to align what they say with what they do, right? They say they'd be very disappointed, but would they really be? Let's see what their actual usage is, right? And then the third sort of goes back to, I think, what Jordan was saying, right? It is this sort of touchy-feely, like people are just coming through the door. It's like everybody hands off the keyboard. Like, don't touch anything, stuff is just happening, right? But I think if you have the confluence of those three things, I think you're likely at product market fit.
Jordan, you talked about how you get this situation where demand is outpacing capacity. Like, how do you manage that? How did you manage that?
You don't. You just, it's like surfing, or you just ride this wave and you try to hold on for, there's no managing it. That is the kind of surprising thing about it. You try, you're like, we gotta put on, but it's really just about, it starts to stress the system. It really is, this is cheesy, I'm sorry, but it's like a rocket taking off and parts of the rocket start to fail. And you're like, we just need to patch that part up. Okay, we patched that part up, cool. The next morning, some other part of the rocket starts to fail and you're like, cool, we'll just patch that. You're just holding on. It feels like you're holding on for dear life. It does not feel like you're managing anything. I will say one thing though, what I alluded to earlier about getting choosy about your customers, that is the great thing to manage, because because early on you will take any comer, because you're like, oh, did you said you might potentially use my product one time? Great, here's a login, please, right? Gradually, as you hit PMF, like you can't deal with those people. You're like, get out of here. Like, absolutely, you get to fire the customers that are a bad fit and that are wasting your time, whatever, you get to fire them. Right. And it's like, that is how you manage it. You manage it by shoring up the parts of the business and the product that are falling apart as you're scaling, and then you do it by firing the wrong customers, which you absolutely will have, because you have that experimental phase where you were just trying stuff and seeing what worked. Some of those people are not gonna go with you on the journey. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully there's a grounding in the what. Let's move on to the so what. So why is product market fit important, Steve, for the quality of revenue, for maybe improving on helping to drive greater operational efficiency? What does it help? How does it help the business?
I think it helps the business because if you ever want to be venture scale, it's really hard to be a venture scale company without it. I mean, I know very few companies that have gotten, and I don't mean like a $5 or $10 million services business that's nice, that gives you a nice lifestyle. I'm talking about $50 million, $100 million, maybe with a 10x multiplier, a $1 billion valuation company. Very few of them don't have it. Right. So without it, I don't know how you become a venture scale company, not in today's world. I think they go hand in hand.
Right. Does everybody in here want to build a venture scale company? Okay, a couple of folks. Lifestyle businesses, happy? Okay, with that. Anything for lifestyle businesses, Steve?
I think lifestyle businesses crush. I think the opposite argument here is that I think most businesses should be a lifestyle business. They shouldn't raise venture capital. They should bootstrap. They should throw off cash flow, lead an incredible life, get to fire customers when you want. You build a venture scale business, you just got a bunch of new parents. Yeah. You did. You're not making any of your own decisions on when you raise, how fast you grow. Didn't make last quarter. I don't give a shit. Yeah. We got to go raise another round. That's what your investors are going to say. Yeah. You're on the venture hamster wheel right now, man.
Yeah, that statement of "I don't give a shit" is it was shocking actually when I heard that from one of my investors.
And you think they're looking out for your best interest? They care about one thing: returning the fund to their LPs. That's it.
Right. And if I'm the tool, I mean,
that's it.
The path. Anuj.
There's a lot of other reasons though. Sorry.
Go for it.
There's apart from the venture context, which is really rare, right? Let's call that out. Like very narrow slice of startups. With product market fit, it gives you efficiency. It's just much more efficient. Your overhead is lower because getting each new customer, keeping them, so much cheaper for you. Finding them, keeping them, all of the things that cost you money, your CAC just goes down, right? Your LTV goes up. Those are the things that you want, whether or not you have VCs on your cap table, right? And that's what happens when you have product market fit.
Yeah. Anuj, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. So I think maybe I like to think of it in terms of stages, right? Because again, I think all we've been saying is that product market fit is nothing but a test of must-haveness, right? And so all must-haveness is telling you is that you can repeatably serve a certain segment of people in a certain way, right? That's all product market fit is, right? And so if you cannot do the basics of being, providing value repeatably, right? There is no way you can scale that, right? And if you cannot scale it, there is no way you can make it profitable, right? So it's a fundamental building block of everything that will come after, right? And there is an order to these things, right? You can't really become a profitable business if you're serving everybody in different ways. Like, how do you know what you're doing?
Am I the only one that thinks Anush just invented a word, must-haveness?
Write it down.
You did just say that, right?
Well, it's also must keepness
Right.
once you
Good.
have.
Yes, absolutely.
Must haveness, must keepness.
So talk about most keepness. Like, how do you most keep them around as you're continuing to evolve? So once you get product market fit, is it forever?
Oh, Lord,
no.
no.
Oh, sorry. Bad news.
Ask Google.
Right? So talk to me about like what are the things that help you to maintain it, if you will, once you have it?
Why are you looking at me? Okay. Really, it's all the things that you did to get there in the first place, but you have to keep doing them as your business gets bigger and faster and scarier, which is really hard to do. But you listen to your customers. You don't do what they tell you to do, but you listen to what they want and what they need. But you also need to and this is just another one of these. I'm sorry about all the vibes. I don't really know. It's not like it's vibes. It just really depends on your context. It's not all vibes, but it really depends on the context you're in. You really have to keep your eye on the market and the way the winds are blowing around what you're doing, right? Not just like consumer behavior or like customer behavior, but other things, regulatory changes, like other things that just may be affecting your business. And you have to meet the puck where it's going. Sorry, the sports metaphors. I don't know. I don't even like hockey. I don't know. Anyway, you know what I mean. You got to meet the puck where it's going.
You're in Boston. Mark.
Right, I know. I have played hockey one time. Okay, anyway, you know what I'm saying. You have to pay attention ruthlessly. I mean, the thing I am constantly thinking about, this phrase, I don't know if any of you have ever read the book Infinite Jest. Sorry, I'm a nerd. There's this very funny quote and poster in the book that's this king sitting on his throne. And it says, "Yes, I'm paranoid, but am I paranoid enough?"
Right.
At the bottom.
Right.
And it's that is
Right.
the feeling. Every little bit of traction and fit that you win, it just opens up a whole new can of worms for you. And you really have to work to keep it. It is not a given. And especially in consumer, that's just fads. Product market fit can often just be pet rocks.
And Jordan, isn't it
you know?
the further along you get and the further away from the customer you get, the harder it is to
Yes.
measure that.
Which
Which becomes really
Yep.
a
Exactly.
problem.
It's a real problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've
The
seen-
example I like to give,
Yeah, yeah.
a weird example, is Notion versus Google Docs, right? Which is not to say that Google Docs doesn't have a stranglehold. They do. It's fine. But do you why did Google Docs add emoji support to Google Docs? It's because of Notion.
Right.
And they were talking to their customers, and their customers were like, "God damn it, I want emojis in this doc." And Google was like, "Oh, okay." Why, right? That's the stuff you have to pay attention to and meet. You have to meet the need as quickly as you can possibly meet it. And it's hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies just don't. It's because it's hard.
Right.
Yeah, so somebody much smarter than me, when I was talking to them about
They don't
growth.
exist.
Yeah.
Who?
Sure.
No.
Sure. And we were talking about growth, and I was throwing out all the buzzwords, and they were like, yeah, all that's fine. But all this fancy growth stuff really is you maintaining product market fit over time with more and more groups of people.
Right. You're maintaining it, and you have to get it newly each
Every-
time.
absolute-
New market,
every group, yeah.
new
Yeah.
fit, and it's it's just as hard.
It's-
Only you have this other business already.
Right, and it gets even harder for a couple reasons, right? One is, especially if you're venture scale, you're on this treadmill, right? And so your raising schedule is completely divorced from reality of acquiring customers, right? So that's one. The second is, the more you grow, there will never be people who want your product as badly as your first customers. Right? Because some of these people may kind of want it, they may not know they want it, they need education. Some people are just, I will only use it when, 10,000 of my friends use something, then it's cool enough to use, sort of thing, right? So now you're trying to make something a must-have with people who care even less, right? And that's really, really hard to do,
Yeah.
right, over time. Sure.
So so one of the things that I'm hearing is, and I'd love you guys to check me on this, is maybe there's like a really important part of your business that needs to be really invested in good product management. Right? Like somebody actually says, no, this is what we need to do now because of these XYZ factors. Like, but you can't just bring that on board oftentimes in an early stage company. Like, how do you do that well?
It's not just that, it's also not
Please.
doing it in a vacuum. Like creating products great.
Yeah.
Who's going to test them with the customers? Who's going to go to the customer and go, Anuj has been working on this great feature for 6 months. Does anybody give a shit? Well, why don't we go ask some customers first? Because the bigger you get, the harder that is.
So key being have not only in the beginning of your business where you'll hear about folks saying, make sure that you go and do have ample customer conversations, get out of the building. You've heard this statement before. I think that guy at MIT said, get out of the building, right? And have conversations. But then thereafter, how do you create a mechanism for yourself to kind of constantly collect
Remember,
feedback?
like when you were first started, Sean,
Yeah.
you were doing customer discovery meetings all the time because you had no paying customers, so you had nothing
Right.
but time to do them.
Sure.
How do you do that when you have 10,000 customers, 50,000 customers, 1,000,000 customers? How do you continuously do that at scale? That's hard.
Right. Sounds like a startup idea, just
Yeah.
to do that. I'm sure
but,
mixed panel or something? I don't know.
But also, I think part of the problem thing happens, and this is something that happens from inception all the way, doesn't matter what size company you are, is if you never figure out or lose sight of what is it about your product that actually means value delivered to your user or customer.
And that might change, right?
Absolutely.
That might change over time, and you need to know that.
Right.
You need to have your finger on the pulse. Like you can't you just can't dissociate even the least bit from your customer and from the market because they are changing. And also, if you get big enough, your product is changing their
Right.
behavior, right? You become a force of nature in this ecosystem. And you have to have both the hubris to see that and the humility to know that that doesn't mean it's going to be the case forever. It's a very weird set of values and skills that most companies don't have,
All right. So for the sake of time, so we did what? We did so what? Let's do now what, right? So scenario being we have a company that has developed an MVP. They have a massive amount of money, 6 months left of runway. What is the first, second, third thing that they should do? What should they do in order to try and accelerate themselves towards product market fit?
Techstars mentors?
Well, so I have two things you absolutely have to do, right? You have to develop a set of hypotheses to test two things. One is who has the problem, right? And actually, what is the actual problem? Because if I don't understand those two things, I can't do anything.
I hope you understood that before you built the MVP.
Even though now you can vibe code up an MVP in 5 minutes, fine, right? But if you don't understand those two things, it's like you don't even know what you're selling and to whom. So what are you going to do? Right? Because if you understand that, right, then if you were like a B2B person, go get a paid pilot, right? Now you know who you're selling to. You hopefully understand the problem really deeply. Right? Now let's go validate, right? And what better way to validate than say somebody fork over a little bit of money to me? Right? We live in a universe where people will not fork over 99 cents for a life-changing app.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right? Like I actually did this exercise with some students I taught at Northeastern. I had them go out to sell their ideas, and it's like, will somebody give you $5, like less than coffee? Right? Of 36 students, 3 people were able to get $5.
Yeah.
Right? So you should be able to do that, whether you're B2C, B2B, put some skin in the game. But you need to know who you're selling to, or at least a hypothesis for it, and what the problem is, and go test that out.
And I think one of his points is you need to be able to figure out how to monetize it.
Yep.
Anybody in this room can build an app and get 10,000 free users. You just can. It's easy. It doesn't cost you anything to build the app, and everybody will try something for free. As soon as you ask them to pay any amount of money, doesn't matter,
It's not that easy.
that's when the rubber hits the road.
Right.
That's it. So you have to
okay,
be
fine.
willing to pressure test that and see if, and you're all afraid to do it, and that's fine, but that is absolutely, you're going to
Yeah.
run out of cash, and you're never going to know if you can monetize. That's the key moment. It just is.
Yeah. What is it? Just don't die.
Just don't die.
What do you think of the whole idea of design partners?
Yes, for B2B. I mean, you only use them in B2B.
Yeah, a design partner is somebody who you will collaborate with to help you to basically get your product to something that is somebody wants to buy, right? So they'll work with you. I wouldn't do. I'd change the button to red instead of blue. I mean, not that trivial, but they are going to help you to think through what is the capabilities, features that are going to actually bring them value and help to get you there.
And Sean, in exchange,
So-
they'll get typically either a discounted or maybe even a trial period where they'll get to use your product before anybody else, early adopter type stuff, in exchange for that.
Yeah. If anyone in the room has helped me, can you raise your hand? Thank you, Nate. Thank you. So yeah, design partners are an important thing, but there's definitely a balancing act
I think
where
it's a
people.
slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope because you can get dragged
Yeah,
by them as
just
well.
not
Not that
just
Nate
that.
did.
Well, it's worth spelling out why, I think, right? So if you've got one design partner, you are building a custom app for someone or a custom product for someone.
For free.
And for free.
For
and
free.
you better hope there are like a lot more of them that look exactly like them. Doing it for 5 feels a little bit, I would say like don't ever just do that with one design partner. I mean, unless it's like an enterprise, there's always an unless. People have built successful enterprise, selling to enterprise businesses where they had one big customer. That worked, right? Okay. But that's what the pitfall of it is that you're building something so specific for such a specific customer that no one else looks like that customer, right? So often you don't know that when you start working with them, right? And you're finding that out. And that's okay, but you really do have to try to find the next one that looks as much like the first one as you possibly can, because that repeatability, what you were saying this, Sean, like you have a repeatable contract now where you just delete the name, put the new name. That means you've done something that you built something for more than one customer, right? Which is great.
Absolutely right.
But with design partners, if you've only got one, again, it's great for a proof of concept, but like be really real with be paranoid. Be paranoid. Am I building the right thing? Is this a market? Are there enough people to pay me for this thing? You cannot be
We had
too
that
paranoid.
happen in one of the Techstars cohorts a couple years ago. Company came in, had a design partner, raised their entire round from that design partner, $5 million round. I'm like, that's awful. They sat with me like they were so proud of themselves. I'm like, that's awful. That's absolutely.
Well, it depends on what your goals are, right?
Like you basically just built a product for one customer.
Right.
That's great, but
Services organization.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Or if they're going to acquire you, if the economics of that work out for you, cool. But like, be smart about that, right? Think it through.
And it's one of those things. Just because you could do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Sure.
You have to ask yourself that question.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody's offering me $5 million. I'm taking it. Figure everything else later. Figure it all out later. So, all right. What I'd like to do is provide enough time for us to take questions as well as conversation in the room. I said before, and I believe this, that we're in a unique place here in Boston, and that the answer is indeed in the room. These aren't just the sages on the stage. I'd love to start kind of soliciting questions, and the team has an answer up there. Awesome. Somebody else has an opinion or perspective. We'll take yours too on it as well. So let's have a conversation. Oh, right.
Thank you. I kind of have a two-parter. So the first part is, I'm curious how you tell the difference between whether or not people like your product versus whether or not people understand what you're offering them, like marketing versus the actual product. I'm curious how you sort of make that
Retention.
distinguish that. Okay. And then two, the second question was sort of in the development of what I'm doing, I noticed this point of transition where earlier on in the pitch, people are like, oh, I understand what you're talking about versus being very confused. And I'm just curious, as you're talking about product market fit, you're sort of further along in terms of retention and income or revenue. But I'm just curious how that fits into that whole sort of roadmap.
Can you clarify the second question a little bit? I'm not sure I understand.
It's, you know, there's a point in sort of talking to potential customers, understanding the problem, building something, sort of demoing it for them, where they go from, what are you doing, to, oh, okay, this, I kind of understand how this could help me. I'm just curious where that fits in the pipeline.
Like as a signal?
Correct, yes.
Okay, got it. I mean, it's a good signal. I don't know. It's good. Progress.
I just think you hit it on it early. I think you have to figure out how to solve a problem first. I think if you're in front of a customer talking about a product, you're already lost. You have to be talking about a problem. Like, people don't buy products, they buy solutions. They buy what those products or services do for them. Do they make them feel better, save money, make them be healthier? That's what they're buying. And I think if you reframe it, and when you're talking to customers, talking in that light, it'll be more helpful. You'll go faster.
It will go faster, right? It doesn't mean that it's impossible. I will also say that we, like, Holler Hype very recently turned a corner with something exactly what you're talking about, where like we have the experience that our app makes possible is rather novel. I know, but everyone thinks that. Sorry, this is just hard to explain to people. And so we have had to do a lot of this, like, we get the conversation because we know the problem that you have, and we are like, hey, yeah, we can solve that. And then they're like, but how are you gonna solve it? And we're like, by this and this and this, here's a case study. And they're like, it's clear. They'll kind of nod along. And we realized several months ago, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, that we were like, they're just nodding along. They don't know. They wouldn't even buy from us and not know, which was testament to the problem we were solving, because no one was out there offering a solution to it, which is good news, right? But it was worrisome, right? We had this feature in our backlog that we had been meaning to explore, but like hadn't ever prioritized. And it's like we were like, this seems compelling, but we're not quite sure why. And we had like some space in the roadmap, and we're like, let's build that. As soon as we were building it, we started talking to customers about it we weren't done building it. We were just like, hey, we're gonna have this thing coming out in a couple months, or it's in the works. And it was closing conversations, and we were just like, what just happened? And that feature, for whatever reason, helped them understand what this thing was for and how it was gonna help them in a way that we couldn't see because we were so inside of this thing. We so understood how it was gonna solve their problem that we were having a hard time articulating it to them, right? But this feature we didn't even need to explain. Yeah. So like, that is a real signal, right? It's a real signal. Now, okay, the hard part starts, right? Are people using it? Is it doing the thing that we said that it's gonna do? Are they gonna renew? I don't have the answers to those things yet, right? Like, ask me in 6 months.
Yeah, on your journey to product market fit, I think that one of the things that cannot be overstated is to please make sure that you fall in love with the problem that you are solving. Make sure that you are locked in on that and not the solution that you've ideated on for a problem you believe you understand. Make sure you not only deeply understand the problem, but also like align with it, such that you're allowed to disconnect from things that you may really like a certain feature within your app, but if it's not aligning on solving the problem, you can easily decouple it without wasting time and stress because you want to just shove it into the market.
And a way to know whether you're doing that or not, I mean, that's all well and good, but it's kind of, sometimes I see founders do this thing where they basically retrofit the problem to their solution. They're like, this solution solves this exact problem, which just happens to be the thing that this, you know what I mean? It's like, there's like a tautology kind of going on there. And the way to get around that with yourself and keep yourself honest and be paranoid is to think of all the other ways you could solve this problem. Are you focused on the problem? Okay, if you are, just pretend you can't solve it the way that you want to. What are all the other ways you could solve it? Well, then it's a problem worth solving if there are other ways to do it and you can imagine them. Because frankly, that first way you're thinking of solving it probably won't work for some reason, right?
Sure.
It's a very good chance it won't work.
More questions?
Yeah,
Mike.
right here. Sorry. So I want to take a step back. So we were talking about now what, and I'm at the MVP stage. I know we talked about MVP, more money, 6 months, what. So I want to kind of understand MVP, bootstrapping, not a lot of money, 6 months, what.
In what context? Like what you should do?
Yeah, to get to product market fit, or what strategies to get, like one or two customers helping you.
I was just going to say, talk to as many people as possible. I mean, when you get to the MVP stage, everyone's baby's ugly at MVP stage, right? It just is. And that's okay. You know what you should do when you have an ugly MVP? Show it to as many people as possible. Build the crappiest version of whatever Rev 1 looks like and just put it in front of as many people as you can and see if anyone cares about what you've done. And then put it in front of 100 more. And you'll spin the flywheel so fast, you'll realize you either have something or you don't. You won't have spent a ton of money doing it. And then ask the $1 million question, which is anyone willing to pay $5 for this? That's how you do it. I mean, it's at the earliest stages, you just do that as many times as you can without spending a ton of dough, especially
And in that
nowadays.
regard, I would highly recommend doing a kind of combo conversation when you do get conversations with people. First half is just problem.
Yeah.
Tell me about your problems. Tell me about your business. Tell me about your life, whatever the thing is, right? Just high level. I mean, really, some of the best customer discovery conversations I've had, I have said, tell me about your job. And then I never talked again for 45 minutes, right? Like, I'm serious. Then show them the thing. You will probably, sometimes you won't show them because you'll be like, I know that this thing is not the thing by now, right?
Okay.
Other times, it'll be worth it, right? And you'll know as those conversations pile up, the earlier you feel comfortable showing that to them in the conversation, the closer you're getting, right?
So the only thing I can add to that is, to this whole, you want to talk to as many people as possible, start to develop some very good hypotheses.
Yeah.
So who am I going to talk to? And make it as granular as possible. Right? It can be, I want to talk to people who only come to Startup Boston Week and only attend the marketing track, are 25-year-old males who only eat at McDonald's, right? It's like, whatever, right? It should feel so ridiculously small that you think there cannot be more than one person. I promise you there's like 8 billion people on the planet. There's like,
Sorry, this isn't a question, but a comment. Read the Mom Test. It's a book on how to talk to customers.
Read the mom
Yeah.
test. Do you
was-
want a
I was
PDF?
right
Will
about to
you
say that.
email me and I will send it to you?
Just-
Like, seriously.
Read the mom test.
Just because if you were to ask your mom, is this a good idea? She's going to say yes because she wants to help you out and she loves it. But if you talk
you
to
read it?
people and you're not absolutely validating your idea from the start, I'd say read the Mom Test like it's your grill.
Yeah.
It'll take you 90 minutes to read this book.
Right.
It's like not
Very
really
fair.
a book.
It's a great
Just do
book. Great book.
You hear me? There we
All
go.
good.
I'm just going to apologize in advance because I'm like as Scottish as it gets. So you're going to have to decipher what I'm saying a little bit.
I thought you were from Chelsea.
Yeah, I've had Brooklyn. I've had Brooklyn a couple of times.
I was going to say Texas.
No, but I think, Jordan, you were speaking earlier about understanding your market, seeing how the wind's blowing in that space, and making sure that you're operating within a gap in that space. And then, Steve, you were speaking about making sure you understand your customer, a pain point, something that they need. I don't know if you guys have read the book Blue Ocean Strategy, but that's talking about, again, finding your blue ocean opportunity where you're operating in uncontested waters and you're addressing that gap in the market. And I think product market fit exists between the intersection of those two things. A gap in the market that you're serving, and then a key customer pain point or need that you're also addressing. And so I'm wondering if you can talk about any strategies or techniques we can use to figure out how to operate at that intersection of gap in the market and customer need.
You've been talking a while.
no. Again, firstly, I don't think there's any silver bullet to this because all the basics are still applicable, right? Because until you develop a reasonable hypothesis about what the problem is and who has it, like how do you even start? Like you can't just have 10 random conversations with people standing next to you, right? Because you want to go and this is the basic scientific method, right? Create, have assumptions, put hypotheses around those assumptions, change one variable at a time, right? That's how you go do it. Now, most people don't like to do this because they think it takes too long, right? And it's too slow. When the real problem is you're moving too slow, it doesn't take that long, right? Because the primary reason I have seen most startups fail is not because of problem and money and all of those things. It's just because they learn too slowly. Right? So the question you should be asking yourself is, am I smarter this week than I was last week?
Well, I guess also let's define too slow here. Too slow is your runway, whatever that is for you. Like, I know people who have taken 4 years to get to product market fit and $4 million. Like, God bless. Like, I don't have that, you know, but like they did. Cool. But if you've got 4 days and $400, well, then that's what you got, and you better move fast. But back to your actual question, can you, I don't know that I understand fully, like, are you talking about like identifying which problem within a broad market opportunity to solve? You answering made me realize that I didn't necessarily understand the question.
Yes, so it was more so the blue ocean strategy is all about addressing a gap in the market.
Right.
And then we also spoke about understanding your customers, speaking to them regularly, right? And I think in startups, we often talk about building in a feedback loop so that you're constantly in communication with your customer, understanding their needs and addressing those. And I was saying, I think that product market fit exists beyond it, within the intersection of those two things. You're addressing a market gap and you're addressing the key pain points of your customer. And so what strategies or techniques can we use in practice to figure out what that intersection is in our businesses?
So there's a perspective that you can use, like an ideal around finding like a market that has some degree of being underserved, right, at an arm's length, right? So there's an opportunity to come in at some point below where others are serving a higher market. And then there's a great book, and I don't recall the full name, but it has to do with like value chain analysis. And if you can like lay out exactly how values created for a given workflow or otherwise, you know, whether it's, you know, nowadays people talk about job tasks or if it's some other product creation, that you can take that and figure out where there's leakage in that value chain, and that's where you're going to put your bucket, and that's the thing you want to have a conversation with people about. Like, hey, if I was to solve this, would that be valuable to you, right? I know that there's this much leakage that's happening on an annual basis. Are you experiencing that too? And have that sort of conversation
And
with them.
one way to test that exact thing is to get really granular about the leaky bucket problem. Email or reach out on LinkedIn to 5 people who you think have it and just say, hey, I want to talk to you about this problem.
Very specific.
And if they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad that someone wants to talk to me about this crazy problem that I have. Can I pay you right now? And you're like, I didn't even ask that. Well, I don't have a product. Then you know that's a thing worth solving. And I say that, you're like, yeah, when has that ever happened? That has absolutely happened in customer discovery processes that I've been part of.
I have a comment too on that one. I think I think coming up with great ideas is really hard.
Yeah.
I think there's, you know, some people that are able to, I don't know, they just naturally think that way and go, oh my gosh, I can see that where that blue ocean exactly is. But I think that for the rest of us, I think it starts with, as you're saying, an idea, a passion, find something that you really want to dig into, and then go talk to people that do that. Like, you know, I'm very interested in the medical field. If I thought I wanted to help people in that field, I would go talk to people in that field. You know, I would go talk to nurses. What's your problem on a daily basis? Or, you know, what would help you do your job or whatever it is. And, you know, if that's not your area of expertise, but I think a lot of great ideas come from people that are in those fields. So you got to find something, and the only way to hang on for the rocket ride is if you really love it, right? So I think start with something that you dig talking about.
I think that there's a danger in talking about blue ocean. There are a lot of blue creeks out there. And if you think I need to be in a place where there's nobody else in the market and I can look for miles and never see another boat, that is not necessarily the place to start a company.
There might be a reason there's no boats there.
No
There be
boats may mean
dragons,
no
perhaps.
market. It may mean no market. And so in my company,
Fair.
which was not a venture scale company, one of those 90% that deserve to live but don't get venture money, which is fine. It was small and profitable. Yay. We doubled our sales every time someone came into our market because we went into sort of a blue, well, maybe it was a river, not a creek, but we went into a place that no one had gone before, and other people saw us what we did, and they didn't do it as well as we did because we were first, we had the customer's ear, we were better, of course, because I'm way smarter, but whatever it was, we doubled our sales every time someone came into the market. So be careful about thinking you need to dream that big in order to start a product.
Fair point.
Agreed.
Hi. I'm a little too close there. Sort of playing a little bit on what was said earlier. If you've got an MVP, which I have, we're trying to figure out if we can, because we may do a freemium model. How do you figure out if no one's paying for your product, what parts are going to be your freemium, and what are going to be sort of like the premium you pay for these things? Like without, I guess other than rigorous testing and trying to see, but we don't have paying customers yet, so.
Jordan, doesn't the feedback loop become even more important then
Yes.
about which features
Okay.
are really worth it?
Totally. But also, to your point, there's actually like a kind of weird little philosophical layer here. So allow me to get very weedsy for a moment as an example. So Holler Hype, my company, is kind of a B2B2C thing. You could all go to the App Store right now and install this app and use it. Nothing will stop you. That is the free version, right? We partner with businesses right now because we are not people capable of raising massive amounts of venture. So our B2B path is basically like paying for, it's like doing sales instead of marketing, in essence. Whole other story. But what we have built, and we spent so long trying to figure out, okay, we see in our distant future a direct-to-consumer, an actual consumer model here. Maybe, right? It's hard to make money. It's hard to charge consumers. They don't like to pay 99 cents for anything. But we were like, how do we do this? We don't want to monetize the direct value prop in here. For our reasons, it feels really, it's a very emotional experience people have in the app, and it felt really like, in talking to users and just using the product ourselves, we're like, monetizing that experience feels crass and like terrible directly. That shouldn't be where the gate is, right? But what we did was an analysis to see like, okay, what are the levers, the other levers in the product that get people to that experience? And is there one of those that we can monetize? And that is the thing that we have built the wall around. We aren't monetizing it yet. But if you use the app enough, you will hit this wall that we have put in there. Right now, the wall just says, hey, you hit this wall, talk to us about how you're using this. This is how you get consumers to talk to you, by the way, because consumers will not talk to you. Sorry, they do not want to talk to you. But if you put a little wall in there, it's like a test. Is this the wall? Will they reach out and talk to us? How many people hit this wall and are frustrated enough by it that they'll actually have a conversation with us, right? It's our first little test. But again, we're not monetizing the core value. We're monetizing one of the things that makes that value better, easier to get to, et cetera. And it's a little bit of trial and error, like you test, you add stuff, you put in a wall, you see who hits it, and then who reaches out to you about it, right? I wouldn't monetize it immediately because again, you'll just lose people while you're trying to figure out if the thing you built is even valuable at all, which is just a really hard thing to do, especially with consumers who are brutal.
You know what
Oh
you
my
can
God, these
do,
people
though?
are brutal.
You can test human nature, which is really fun. Like, for example, everybody wants things that are exclusive, faster, front-of-the-line access. Like, those are the types of things. I mean, does anybody really think that ChatGPT, the paid version, is that much better than the free version? Well, we all know that we just get faster responses, a little bit better pictures. I can upload this. But it's not world-changing. I've used both versions. I pay for the paid version because I want faster responses and better access.
It's also,
So you can test that.
you can. But again, even best case scenario, 5% of your user base are going to use this. So until you have at least 100 users, it's like not really, and probably a lot more than that. It's not even really worth testing because it's not telling you anything. So like if you're doing a consumer thing or even a prosumer thing where it's like really, you need scale.
And if it's freemium, I'd argue actually it's more like 1,000,
Yeah, no, it is.
5,000,
It is.
10,000
Yeah.
users.
Right.
I think
So,
it's until you
yeah.
get to 5 or 10,000 users,
We-
it's really hard.
We had 2,000 users before we added this thing. And again, it's not a paywall. It's just a little like feature wall. And we have a little channel in Slack that every time someone hits it, we get a notification. And then we wait. Are they going to email us? Wonder if they'll email us about it. Not all of them do.
I want to get some more questions in. Right here.
Oh. No, it's okay.
All right, sure. Hi.
I'm Emma. I do data strategy and data operations consulting. Hey, Jordan, for early to growth stage tech companies. And a lot of what I end up doing with clients is sort of after the fact, they realize, oh, we really should have been measuring XYZ, retention or product usage. Where do you think involving data and measurement comes into play in relation to whether or not you have product market fit? Should it be in place beforehand so that you can determine, like, how do you see that and where do you see that fitting in?
Well, so early on, like you hardly have any users, right? So most of your data will be qualitative, right? Just there's nothing significant about 50 people, even 100 people, like telling you anything. So I would over-index on qualitative data, right? And you know, I don't think you need to buy any fancy tools to like go understand retention. Like you can just basically query your database, like, hey, did somebody come in this week or not? Right? Did they use this feature which we think is really important or not? Like you can literally do this in Google Sheets,
But
right? If you had to.
To that point, you need to have a database where you're tracking the usage of that.
Well, sure, but you would assume every product like has some back end, right, where you have users' information
yeah.
stored.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So at the very, it doesn't have to be fancy, but at the
Start.
right, this is a start. Like here's a user. Here are some 2 or 3 events we're tracking. Start there, right? Don't overwhelm yourself at the start because anyway you're going to go back to them and ask them, hey, you know, did you find any value? Like, why did you? Like, some of my favorite questions are, why did you even come back? Right? Like, you could have been taking a nap. You could be watching Netflix. Like, why did you come and use this product?
Right.
Right? What's so important?
Well, your question though was like when? When does it become something that you need to be able to do scalably, I guess, is right what you're asking?
Yeah, when to do it scalably and also when to, you know, invest in someone that can access your database and answer those questions for you, whether it's an analyst or what have you.
Yeah, when you have the money.
Well,
to
I
do
mean,
it.
on that score, I don't, like, you need someone on your team doing that.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
hard thing.
investment.
Like, don't outsource it to start. I mean, if your team doesn't have those skills, hire someone to do a workshop with you or something for sure. But it is really like you're gonna get to the point where you have questions you can't. You have enough
Exactly.
users that you can't talk to each of them. You have a question that suddenly you cannot answer directly, right? It's a little bit complex. Maybe you need a model, and that's the moment, right? Like that's the moment.
Right here.
Just a quick question, because it seems like you guys have talked a lot about like tech sector software users, but curious how you guys might adapt these concepts to like a physical products type of thing, because maybe you can't, I don't know how, maybe I'm wrong, but the Kit Kat has probably not been innovated repeatedly based off of consumer feedback in these cycles, but kind of like people have been enticed to fall in love with this kind of product type too.
I think you're wrong. What about the Kit Kat? Is that what your
I'm
example?
I'm not totally sure, but Kit
No, I mean a
Kats,
lot of
Oreos,
that's what
Twixes.
early iteration on. I mean, food. I don't know a ton about this. I haven't founded a company in that space before. But like you do a lot of iteration, and you're selling candy bars at farmers markets and wherever, and you're iterating on the formula until you're like, okay, no, people need this now, because you put so much caffeine in it that they can't stop.
Right, but also I have had one experience selling like physical products, and of course I can't A/B test a coffee mug, right? So sure,
Or
so
a car, test.
right. So a lot of the iteration happens more in the storytelling around the product and almost getting somebody to almost experience what it would be like if they actually had their hands on it, so that when they put their hands on it, it's like, oh, I've met the promise I made to them when they got their hands on it. And I know that because they're gushing about it when they did.
One more question. I'll just say with hardware or products like that, you go through a very deliberate stage gate process in order to get yourself pretty assured that that physical atoms-based thing that you're going to put out into the world is going to be acceptable by someone. Typically, you do that. Not in the case of that pin that went into the market, but most of the time you do it. Last one.
Hi everyone. Am I audible? Good. Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm panelist. So yeah, I like what you said about going out there and talking to people about your product and telling them and asking them their feedback and what you said after that. Oops, sorry. Asking them if they would pay 5 rupees for that. So I currently just about to finish my MVP for my company, and just a little background. Like I'm working for indoor navigation using augmented reality. So it's not a very developed scope. Like not a lot of people usually roam around with that. So I am not even focusing on a B2C based customer, but a B2B or a B2B2C. So how do I go ahead and talk to customers about this without them not having that much knowledge about augmented reality? And I know for sure that they can probably use a phone instead of using augmented reality to navigate. So yeah, that was my question.
I'll keep this one to you.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's about the solution at all. Right? It's about, do they have a problem
Right.
worth solving? Like what are you actually solving with it? You don't have to tell us, but inherently you know what is the actual problem you're going after.
And how could augmented reality solve that
Right,
problem?
right, and they may not even care how it is solved, right? Because at the end of the day, they just want it solved. It may just so happen that it's augmented reality.
Yeah. They might say, put stickers up on the walls, and then that'll do it.
Right.
You know,
But at this time, they just care about, I have this problem. It's a big enough problem for me to take the time out of my day to listen to a nobody founder who's come and approached me. And that's the only reason I will talk to a nobody founder, is because the problem is so bad. I will take anybody to be my savior.
I will add here that like even if you have a product that's like entertainment, I don't know what your what problem it's solving.
Doing like navigation indoors, like you could navigate inside malls.
Okay, great. Then yeah, that's you just focus on the problem.
Yeah.
Just talk to them about the problem. If you do have a product idea that is way more about entertainment or just something that doesn't seem like a problem, it can still be framed as one, right? Which is like, well, I love video games, and I love playing video games. I love new video games, but there's not any video games out there that feature XYZ, which I also really love. That's my problem, right? My problem is I can't find them. Like there's still a problem that I have there, right? Even though it's around entertainment.
thank you.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank our speakers. I love the energy up here. Thank you so much. The big takeaway for me was your absence costs more than your presence. And I think, I know being in tech startups, it was kind of a rite of passage as a engineer to take down the entire system, like in the early days. Like everybody did it at some point, because everybody had access to everything.
Yeah,
and so it really is true that you hear the customers clamor and complain that the site is down.
This is
That's
actually a
great
test you can
news.
do. Turn it off.
Yes.
See if anyone complains.
It's a great
We
test.
never
Yeah.
needed to make the excuse. There was always
Be at
something
the,
going
be at the
on.
right level, because you could get fired, though.
Mine was data analysis, actually, for the person there. I was in customer success trying to run a query to find out more, and I just blew the whole database up with my ridiculous query. So but it is a very true statement, so thank you. A lot of wisdom came out of this session. I really appreciate it. So we still have a lot more for today and the rest of the week. We have a session in here at 4, which is Selling the Dream, Raising Pre-Seed Capital as a First-Time Founder. We also have a party in this room tonight presented by HPE and NVIDIA. It's at 6:30. And we do have to turn over the room, so as we disperse, I will ask you to leave. I know everyone wants to form lines to talk to our speakers, but we do need to get ready for the next session, and you will need to check in for that next session. And what haven't I talked about so far? I'll repeat again that for early stage founders this Friday at the closing party, you'll have a chance to share your venture at the Startup Showcase. So stop at the welcome desk at the first floor for details, and